International Monetary Fund seeks better economy with digital payments. Oil drifts near 2018 highs ahead of OPEC Plus meeting. Plus, Business Express today takes a look at challenges and opportunities in growing Nigeria's MSME sector. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now let's begin with tax. Nigeria is set to utilize its legal provisions that empower the federal government to collect taxes on profits made in the country by global technology and digital firms not based in the country, but with significant economic presence here in Nigeria. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said this while interacting with a delegation of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, led by its president, Adesina Adedayo. State House correspondent Jude Onifade reports.
The federal government, as Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said, would not be raising tax rates at this time based on the Finance Act 2019, and explained that the federal government is already empowered to widen the tax net, including by collecting taxes on the Nigerian income of global technology giants with significant economic presence in the country. And this is even if they have not established an office or permanent establishment and are currently not paying taxes in Nigeria. The Vice President explained that the Finance Act has shown that the government is very prepared to ensure that the big technology companies do not escape without paying their fair share of taxation in Nigeria.
The first Vice President's response was such that gave us comfort in the sense that a lot of the issues we mentioned from his response is already being addressed at even governance level. And in the other areas where we serve as in advisory capacity, he has encouraged us to say when we have issues on that, we should continuously engage with his office to ensure that things get done effectively. Because ultimately, the issue of social contract in terms of tax and the general public is a critical one for us, because we want the government to do what governance is all about. And we as citizens are also meant to do what a citizen is expected to do in terms of compliance with issues of law and fulfilling your civic responsibilities.
And now let's bring you Benny Adams' report on trade in last 4 years.
Nigeria's trade balance in 1999 was 8.21% and worth $4.8 million, with trade percentage to GDP standing at 34.46%. In 2019, Nigeria's estimated trade surplus amounted to about $7.27 billion, with China enjoying 28% of Nigeria's imports, the United States 8.54%, the Netherlands 7.57%, and India 7.16% as main import trading partners of Nigeria as of the fourth quarter of 2020, which indicates a geometric growth. Nigeria imported machinery equipment and pharmaceuticals, among others, while exporting petroleum and other raw agri-commodities. The value of Nigeria's total trade stood at 10.1 billion naira in Q4 2019, representing a 10.15% increase shortly before COVID-19 came knocking, forcing countries to shut borders, bringing trade to an all-time deficit, except for pharmaceuticals. These numbers are about to change with the gradual opening up of economies and the gradual implementation of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, where countries with production capacity in excess of their consumption are eager to open up, while those that consume more than they produce are cautious.
We tend to be, consuming more than we produce, but we also have huge potential for production. And I think what has been happening recently, there's more emphasis in this real sector. Various governments, particularly this one, you can see the policy is inclined to reduce dependence on the oil sector and increase the contributions from agriculture, from manufacturing, and from mining. And these are really the drivers of the future. So now these areas are opening up. I think we're better positioned to face the challenge of the African free market.
To be competitive in this market, government is building capacity in country by opening up new special economic zones across the country and setting up an infrastructure company, among other measures.
We want to make Nigeria attractive to investors who want to take advantage of that free trade area, because it is the largest free trade area in the world at the moment. We're setting up these free trade zones. We're trying to make sure that we have all the necessary infrastructure in place for these zones so that people can just come, set up their factories, start to produce, and start to export.
Government is also implementing an industrialization plan.
A lot of work had been done on an infrastructure master plan. We are also mainstreaming that into the National Development Plan.
We're doing everything to ensure that the Central Bank of Nigeria is able to fund all legitimate domestic import obligations of people who need foreign exchange.
Nigeria did not escape the global COVID-19 induced recession, as the economy recorded negative growth in second and third quarter of 2020, but climbed out in the fourth quarter with a 0.11% growth and further advanced with a 0.51% in the first quarter of 2021, where trade contributes 15.61%, the highest after agriculture, to further propel economic recovery and growth.
Revenues are down, expenditures are up, and debt is high.
With the IMF and World Bank putting restrictions on borrowing, the federal government is looking for other means of raising capital to build better infrastructure for trade to thrive.
What we need, probably more than anything else now, are investments, foreign investments, and access to capital, to financial capital.
We are talking about capital importation. What do we do to encourage the importation of capital? So who are in our target list? Which countries should we focus on? And what is the destination?
Total is part of the bigger picture in our country in terms of oil and gas exploration and production, and definitely all the reforms that are going on, which is essentially to introduce more transparency into our business, create a more robust fiscal environment for our country, make it more competitive, and become the destination of choice for investors. And obviously Total is seeing this opportunity, and that's why they are confirming that they are going to stay with us, they are going to invest in our country, and we're happy to see them do that.
Vaccinating millions of people around the globe, coupled with economies opening up, the volume of trade and investment is having a ripple effect on the global economy. In Abuja.
Now, the Development Bank of Nigeria says it will continue to provide sustainable funding and capacity needed to grow Nigeria's MSME sector. Managing Director of the bank, Tony Okpanachi, disclosed this in a chart in Abuja as part of activities marking the United Nations MSME Day.
Paul Harris is a fashion designer with expertise in a brand of clothing who needs capital to expand his production lines. Harris is one out of more than 44 million micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises that the Development Bank of Nigeria is to empower through long-term financing, provision of partial credit guarantees, and build their capacity.
We created about 130,000 employment over time through this funding so far, and it's an ongoing thing.
So far, the Development Bank of Nigeria, through commercial banks, microfinance banks, and other financial institutions, has since 2017 disbursed more than 334 billion naira in loans to more than 135 small businesses. 57% of these are women-owned, while 28% are youth. thereby creating more than 130,000 jobs and still poised to do more.
So our intervention from different angles, providing long-term funding, building capacity, and providing partial credits, all addresses all the different issues as long as we relate to access to finance.
Tony Okpanachi is of the view that Paul Harris and many others in need of funding to grow their businesses have to make their businesses bankable.
Our capacity building is in twofold. The primary one is technical assistance to financial institutions, again, to enable them know how to lend to these micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's a huge part of our mandate, technical assistance we should provide to them. The other part we also do is for the micro, small, and medium enterprises themselves, in providing some bit of capacity building on how to position their business, put their business plan together, and how to make their business bankable to be able to access finance.
The Development Bank of Nigeria is using the World MSMEs Day to further carry out its mandate of providing long-term finance of up to 10 years tenure with 18 months moratorium for the critical sectors of the economy.
Now, the Buhari Media Organization reassures Nigerians that President Muhammadu Buhari will keep to the terms of his vow to improve on the country's infrastructure, regardless of dwindling oil revenue. The media organization, in a statement, said the motivation and philosophy behind the $1.96 billion railway project from Kano to Maradi in Niger are the same as that of the 403-kilometer highway linking Enugu to Bamenda in Cameroon, which is the 2007 agreement with the African Development Bank and Cameroon, which the federal government is committed to its fusion. BMO clarified that the 387-kilometer railway line is run through Kano, Jigawa, and Katsina states, which are significant trade hubs with massive markets, including Danawa, which is believed to have an annual trade volume of 2.5 billion naira. While the Enugu to Bamenda highway will drive a lot of economic activities in several Nigerian communities in the south up to the border with Cameroon. Recently, throw pillows have become one of the materials used to decorate homes and offices, which has gained popularity in modern-day interior decoration. Investigation by Business Express Crew in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State reveals that despite the prices, which ranges from 1,000 naira and above depending on the size and designs, there is still increase in demand for the throw pillow, thereby making it an attractive business, though with few entrepreneurs. Joy Bano reports.
Throw pillows, also known as toast pillow, are usually placed on sofas or armchairs and are also frequently used on beds to beautify the room. Throw pillows serve both as aesthetic and have a functional purpose to every individual.
The reason why I buy throw pillows, I buy and sell for my clients who need them. The essence is just to decorate your house, your home, make it look beautiful. We have different types of throw pillows for different purposes. We have the throw pillow for the babies, and then the ones for the breastfeeding mothers. They use it to support their babies and then breastfeed them.
It has become one of the lucrative business in Uyo for young entrepreneurs.
You hardly enter somebody's parlor without seeing throw pillows. People are really patronizing. People are really buying them.
One of the entrepreneurs in Uyo, Inemesit NS, say, though throw pillow is in vogue, yet have few people in the business.
It's difficult for us to train that person because I don't know why they don't have passion to do this kind of business. What I have the passion to is what I'm using my hands to produce.
However, as the demand for throw pillows increase in the market, it is an opportunity for young entrepreneurs to venture into the business to create job opportunity.
Now, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is taking steps to ensure that countries and their financial institutions narrow the digital divide for their citizens. IMF's first Deputy Managing Director, Geoffrey Okamoto, said countries should do everything they could to use this technological super cycle for a much-needed growth that raises living standards and addresses long-standing challenges. In his remarks posted on IMF website, he said many countries should make substantial improvements to unlock a digital economy that powers growth and is inclusive of people that, to date, are falling further behind. He said the financial sector needs to be capitalized and regulated with an eye towards maintaining stability while also channeling capital to new market entrants. In the fintech space, the IMF, along with the World Bank, proposed the Bali Fintech Agenda, which reinforces competition and commitment to open, free, and contestable markets. Both institutions, he said, are preparing to deepen work on digital money and the implications this has for the international monetary system. Oil prices hit and then recoil from highs last seen in October 2018 on Monday as investors eye the outcome of this week's OPEC Plus as the United States and Iran wrangle over the revival of a nuclear deal, delaying a surge in Iranian oil exports. Brent crude for August had slipped 16 cents to $76.02 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude for August was at $73.93 a barrel. Oil prices rose for a fifth week last week as fuel demand rebounded on strong economic growth and increased travel during the summer in the Northern Hemisphere, while global crude supply stayed snug at the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and their allies maintain production cuts. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in its bid to moderate and control the prices of maize in the Nigerian market, has approved the release of 50,000 metric tons of maize to 12 major producers from Strategic Maize Reserve under the Anchor Borrowers Program. The release of the maize to the companies, which is the third of such releases, is also intended to check the activities of middlemen aimed at hoarding the product and causing artificial scarcity. The statement obtained from the CBN listed recipients of the grains to include Premier Flour Mills, Crown Olam Grand Cereals, Animal Care, Amobin and Hybrid Feeds. Others include Obasanjo Farms, Zatek, Wakot, Said Farms, Pandagri, Novum and Premium Farms. Confirming the release of the grains, the CBN spokesman Ositan Wasobi expressed optimism that the release will crash the price of maize, produce pressure on the market and make the product directly available to feed producers, thereby reducing the price of poultry feed in the country. As part of the bank's financing framework, Nwasobi said the CBN will continue to facilitate the funding of maize farmers and processors through the Anchor Borrowers Program, Commodity Association, Private Prime Anchors, State Governments, Maize Aggregation Scheme, and the Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme. Now let's take a trip to the commodities market. Nigerian equities closed week ended with net capital loss of 516 billion naira, bucking a largely positive global trend. Moplan Dakok has more on the market in the week ended.
The NSE All Share Index depreciated by 2.56% to close last week at 37,658.26, while market capitalization dropped to 19.627 trillion naira. A total turnover of 1.006 billion shares worth 10.3 billion naira in 17,165 deals were traded in the week. All indices finished lower while 9 indices appreciated in the week, compared to the previous week when most indices closed higher. The NSE Growth Index closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 646.4 million shares valued at 5.1 billion naira traded in 8,996 deals. The consumer goods industry followed, while the third place was occupied by the conglomerates industry. Trading in the top three equities, Zenith Bank, Transcorp Hotels and Access Bank accounted for 207.3 million shares worth 2.5 billion naira in 2,774 deals. 101,876 units of exchange-traded products ETPs valued at 1.7 million naira were traded last week in 19 deals, as well as 216,675 units of federal government bonds valued at 215.7 million naira. 33 equities appreciated in price in the week under review. 37 equities depreciated in price, while 85 equities remained unchanged.
Now, in the global scene, European markets slide as COVID cases weigh on global sentiment.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review segment. I am Bossede Ebo. Global stock markets Monday are affected by various factors, including investor sentiment. European stocks were muted early trading Monday as investors monitored rising COVID-19 cases around the globe. DAX depreciated 0.35%, FTSE 0.64%, and CAC 40 also dipped 0.62% to close 6,582.08. Stocks in Asia Pacific were also muted on Monday as Hong Kong saw a shorter trading day following a morning pause due to severe weather conditions. The Hang Seng Index slipped fractionally lower on Monday by 0.07% to close 29,268.3. Shanghai Composite also dropped 0.03% to close 3,606.37, and the Nikkei also depreciated 0.06% to close 29,048.02. Futures contracts tied to major U.S. stock indices were little changed Monday after the S&P 500 notched its best week since February, as well as a new record on Friday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was higher at 0.69%, S&P 500 0.33%, while the Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.06%. While in Africa, markets were mostly on the low, with Tunisia's Tunidex, Namibia's overall, Ghana's GSE Composite, and South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 were on the low, while Nairobi's all-share topped 0.01% to close 171.62. That's the Global Market Review segment. I am Bossede Ebo.
Thank you, Bossede. Naira remains stable at official and parallel markets. Let's see how the Naira is exchanging for other international currencies. This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Tuesday by 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Abubakar saying stay safe.